So as a woodworker, we've all been in that situation where we have an event coming up or maybe somebody coming over and we want to do a special gift for them or just something small, nothing too extravagant. And we need to pump it out quick. So I came up with this bottle opener that is about a 10-minute to 15-minute project, depending on your comfort level or how quick you work. It will use your offcuts from other projects, which for me is great because I hate wasting any amount of wood. Even when I get down to these small pieces, I try to work them into one of my smaller projects. To do this project, once you get down to the offcut, you're going to be using a drill press. You'll have a 2 1/8 hole saw, a 1 5/8 Forstner bit, and a 1-inch Forstner bit. And then to finish it off, you're going to have or use a sanding jig that I came up with that will attach to the blank and go into the drill press, which will allow you to sand this project much quicker. So today I'm going to go through everything step by step throughout this video. And if you decide this is a project you'd like to try, at the end of the video, I'm going to give you information on a couple of packages I have that include the sanding jig and the bottle openers, or you can get the package that also comes with the sanding jig, bottle openers, as well as 4 offcuts plus a scrap board that you're going to want to attach the offcuts to. So stick around at the end of the video. I'll give you the information that you need to purchase those, and then when they arrive, you can go ahead and get started making some of these cool bottle openers for yourself. All right, let's get started.
To start with, you're going to want to get your scrap wood and your offcuts. So the scrap wood is the piece of wood that you're going to double side tape these offcuts to in order to use on the drill press and save your drill press table underneath. You're also going to need your bottle openers and your jig. So if you order the jig from me, you'll get the jig hardware in the starter kit. And if you order the offcut pieces, I'll assemble the jig for you. So you want to double side tape the offcuts to the scrap wood, and you're going to want to position each offcut in the top right corner of the scrap wood. This way, whenever you're going into the drill press and you do the setup, each piece will line up and you can go through the process a little bit smoother. So the setup, what I did was I have a stop block, which is a piece of 3/4 inch plywood that I have clamped down and it slides back. And then I also have a back end to block the wood from going any deeper. So you're going to want to put the hole saw in the drill press and make sure that it covers all the edges so that you get a complete circle cut whenever you're doing your cuts, your final cut with the hole saw. We're not going to start with the hole saw though. The first cut is going to be with the Forstner bit, which is the 1 5/8 inch. So we'll put that into the drill press now that we have everything lined up. And then this one, we're going to go about 1/8 of an inch deep. This is where the bottle opener is going to lie into the blank. So after you go a little bit into it, you're going to test fit it, see if the bottle opener works. Now you could set up a stop on your drill press, but for me, I try to eyeball it at this point. This one was pretty close, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper. Once you're done with that, you're going to replace the Forstner bit with the 1 inch. Now what I like to do is go through and do all my cuts with the 1 5/8 inch, then bring the pieces back and do the 1 inch cuts, and then finally the hole saw at the end. With the 1 inch bit, you're going to go about a little over 1/4 inch, close to a 1/2 inch deep. And this way, whenever you're using the sanding jig and you place it into the blank, it's going to be able to rest tightly or flat on the blank, and it's not going to have that rocking back and forth. And then the final step is the hole saw. Now you want to hold the wood tight whenever you're doing this, and then just go slow and steady through the piece down until you hit the plywood. Once that's done, then now you have the blank the way you need it. We'll peel off the excess um, wood, and then you'll have your blank, and you're ready to get started with setting up the sanding jig. Now, if you order the starter kit without the wood, you're going to have to assemble this. So you put a washer down first, then the bottle opener, and you want to make sure the indents are facing up. The screw hole indents are facing up. Followed by the last washer, and then you'll put the nut on. And you're going to want to get this down to the point where the nut is touching the washers, but it's not going to be tight just yet because we want to set it up so that it is perfectly centered. So after you get the piece perfectly centered, you're going to want to then snug the fit with the nut. You want to make sure that the gap around the sides of the sanding jig is very close, or is as close as you can get it to being even around the entire blank. Once you know you have it and you have it good and snug, you're going to then tighten it with the wrench and Phillips head screwdriver on the end of the bolt. So that's pretty simple. I mean, that's the gist of assembling the jig. Now we're going to use the jig to mark the screw holes on the blank. And that's why it's so important that the jig is perfectly centered. One, for this process, and two, for the sanding process. So I used a punch to mark these holes. And then once the holes are marked, you're going to um, take your drill, and you're going to want to make sure that you have a small enough drill bit to drill a good pilot hole, but not one that the screws are going to be too loose. And then you also want to make sure the drill bit is not set too deep. You don't want the screw coming out the other end, or the drill bit coming out the other end of your blank. So now that we have the holes drilled, we're going to want to um, attach the jig. And I use a number 1 Phillips head screwdriver for this. I found that this is the best fit for these screws. And then I use a little bit of petroleum jelly whenever I'm doing or threading the screw for the first time. This helps it go in a little bit smoother. Again, you don't want to over tighten this. You just want them to be nice and snug. If you over tighten it, you'll end up stripping it, and you don't want to lose the integrity because these screws are what holds your bottle opener in place into the blank. So now we just put the jig with the blank into the drill press, make sure that it's good and tight, and then we are ready to start sanding, which this is when you get to start seeing the project come to life. So I start with an 80 grit, then I go to a 120, a 220, then I hit it with a 320. And then I also use the red and gray Scotch pads, and that may not be necessary, but it makes me feel better. And then I top it off with some paste wax. So whenever you're doing the sanding, you just want to use very light pressure. Let the rotation of the drill press do most of the work. Now for the 80 grit, you're just trying to get rid of the hole saw marks. And this takes a little bit longer than the other grits, but it's good to take your time, make sure that you get through all of the marks and get it ready for the next level of grit on the sandpaper. If you go too fast, you're going to end up with those lines in your project at the end. So take your time on each grit. Probably need to touch it up a little bit more with the 80 grit and then move on to the next grits. Now, as exciting as sanding is, I went ahead and skipped ahead and went to my 320 grit. If you're out there and you really want to see how I sanded through each level or each grit of the sandpaper, feel free to shoot me an email. I will send you all the videotape personally. Now here after the 320 grit, you get to really see how smooth this is and how it's starting to really pop and you really get the feel for it. And then like I said, I hit it with the red Scotch pad just because it makes me feel better. I don't know if it's necessary, but I like how it gives it a little bit more polished look, and then hit it with the gray. I mean, I do this when I'm doing my finishing on my other products, so I figured why not do it on this one. And then, of course, the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to top it off with some paste wax. And this, man, this really makes it pop. The first time I used the paste wax on this, I was really excited about seeing the results. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a turner. I've never used a lathe, so I've never gotten to have the experience of watching something polish as it was being turned. But that's it. So there you have it. Let's see if I can get it in the light a little bit. So yeah, there you go. So you can see how this really turned out. I think this turned out great. And with this particular blank, I had the resin in it, which made it look even nicer. So I added a little bit of paste wax. I didn't show that part. I put a paste wax in the middle there to even out the look of the bottle opener. And now I'm just attaching the screws for the final time. And once we're done with this project's done. It's that quick. And like I said, I try to batch these out, but you can do them one at a time. And you probably get this down to 10 minutes or maybe even less, depending on your batch process and what your setup is in your shop. But I was really happy with how these turned out, and I hope you have the same amount of success that I had with these and enjoy it. Just take it slow, steady, enjoy the process, get creative. I mean, do some different contrasting woods. Do use the resin like I did here. I mean, have some fun with it. So, and then here's some final money shots. I threw it in my light box to get some better pictures of it, and then even staged it, made the sacrifice, and had a beer afterwards. So here's the starter kit. So I have the sanding jig, which will come disassembled, and 4 bottle openers. Disassembled because it's easier for packaging that way. Now, if you buy the starter kit plus and you want the scrap wood along with the 4 wood blanks, and then the starter kit, which is the bottle openers and the jig, I will assemble the jig for you for this kit because it's going into a box, so I can easily place it in that box with the blanks. And then here's some other bottle openers that I did. Hopefully they give you some ideas of different things that you can do. So that brings us to the close of the video. I invite you guys to check out my website where I have the jigs, the different starter kits. I also have plenty of different products on my website if you're looking to purchase a gift for someone. But please come on by, and if you like what you see, sign up for my mailing list. I offer a discount to anybody who subscribes. All right, thank you very much. See you guys next time.